What's happening, brand nerds? Been a little minute since we come back with brand beats and bites and some new content. We love doing this podcast, LT. It's
We
so
do.
fun.
Yes,
It's so fun. I'm just glad we got brand nerds willing to listen to our nonsense, man. I'm just,
that's right.
I'm just, I'm just happy about it. Larry, brand nerds, we're gonna do another What's Poppin'. This month, we're in the month of July 2024. There is a little known sporting event out there called the Olympics. The Olympics. And LT, it's happening in Paris
Oh man.
this year, in Paris. And there's a lot of branding and marketing all around the Olympics, as you know. And so, brand nerds, this podcast of Brands, Beats, and Bites is dedicated to the Olympics. Now, full disclosure, brand nerds, you all know that Larry and I come into these things. He does not tell me what's popping for him. I do not tell him what's popping for me. We know the themes broadly, but
Right.
we don't know specifically what the other one's going to say. So, Larry, I'm going to kick it to you, bro. I have no idea what you're about to say about the Paris Olympics, but what say you? And let's take it from there.
Yeah, let's do it. So D, let's be candid. You and I go way back from a business perspective about the Olympics, because of the Coca-Cola association with the Olympics. Coca-Cola has one of the longest, if not the longest, running relationship with the Olympic movement. That's what the folks in Switzerland like to call it. And so we are really embedded in this from a marketing standpoint, brand nerds. And obviously that's the slant that we take everything from. So that's where we're going. And the Olympic movement in the last, let's say 10 years has really slipped in interest, global interest. There's a lot of reasons for it. One being the pandemic, of course, which interrupted everything because Tokyo was supposed to happen in 2020. So the 2020 games actually didn't happen until 2021. And quite honestly, from a U.S. Myopic standpoint, because they were in Japan, again, those Summer Olympics, wrong year, but also on the other side of the world, invariably, there's the disconnect because of that, right? So that Olympics, the ratings were down precipitously. And of course, there's the overall television situation with folks moving to streaming. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of interruption. There's been a lot of reasons. There really hasn't been games that with those games in the Winter Olympics aren't the same as the summer. Let's just be honest. And they also haven't been well watched. And so now we're here in 2024. Things are, while there's a lot of turmoil in all of our lives in many ways, things are a bit more back to normal as it relates to sports and whatnot. And now it's in July. I think also Tokyo was in the fall, if I don't remember, if I may remember right, or late in the summer. So now we're in July. It's Paris, okay? And it feels like to me, and I'd love to hear your perspective on D, it feels like to me there's an opportunity for the Olympics to sort of reset themselves in society into the 2020s, both in the US and globally, and to sort of reinvent itself and gain another footing. And quite honestly, if they don't do it in 2024 in Paris, they've got real issues. But I think there's going to be a lot of interest in these Olympics. What say you?
I agree, Larry, with your assessment. This is an opportunity for the Olympics as a movement and a brand to reset itself as a movement and reposition itself as a brand. So I agree with you on the reset. I'm adding the repositioning piece.
Right.
I believe, Larry, that NBC has been the primary broadcaster of the Olympics here stateside since 1988. I think it's been about.
I think there was one games in between, but you're right. Other than one game. So yes.
1988. And shout out to Laz and his crew over there.
Yep.
And what they're doing. Great stuff. And I know this year in Paris is also going to be phenomenal. Agree that it's a chance to a reset. what I noticed in 2020 is an attempt to broaden the audience of the Olympics and to do it in a way that I thought was unexpected. I grew up watching the Olympics, the standard broadcasters. I remember Jim McKay, Brand Nerds. You have to go look up Jim McKay, the GOAT of
Totally.
Olympic announcers. I think he was on ABC at the time,
Yep.
Jim McKay.
And ABC was the primary back in those days, D. So
Yeah,
you
back in
have
those
that
days.
right.
Yep. Jim McKay. Larry, my favorite event was the marathon. I love the marathon.
Mhm.
Larry, there was a runner named Frank Shorter. Frank Shorter. So I'm not talking about Prefontaine. He was
Yep.
a middle distance runner, but Frank Shorter, that was my guy.
Yep.
But Larry, I don't know how many youngins are all that interested in the marathon and the would-be Frank Shorters of today. So in 2020, they did something different to expand their audience, and this is where I give Laz and his crew over at NBC their propers. They tapped Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg
Yep.
to do their version of commentating on the Olympics, and they weren't just doing what you would typically think of as where you might place them. These two brothers, they were talking about equestrian events, and I remember Snoop Dogg talking about one of the equestrian events. So for you brand nerds that can't see me, I'm on the screen prancing like I'm a horse. He said, Snoop Dogg says, "Oh, he's crep walking." Okay, he's talking about the equestrian event. My point being is that I think they were dipping their toe in 2020. Now in Paris, for all the reasons that you have said, I'm expecting to see them dive in the pool of doing unexpected things to reset the movement and reset and reposition the brand. So that's my initial reaction.
Yeah, I think you're right. Couple things, Brand Nerds, that DC and I have been able to fortuitously experience.
That's a
You
nice
have to
word,
shout.
man. Nice
What's
word.
that?
Fortuitous, nice word.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We have to shout out Mark Lazarus and his team, like you said. The folks at NBC, and this goes back a long time. When we were at Coca-Cola, Dee, do you remember NBC would come in and they would take all the folks in marketing and media, and they would take us through a presentation of how they were going to cover the Olympics, because again,
Yes.
we're one of the prime sponsors, and they really wanted us to understand how they were going to engage viewers. And
Yep.
one of the things they knew then, and that carries forth now, Brand Nerds, is, and you should know this, is that they did a ton of research. And one of the things that they found was that the more viewers, consumers know the folks who are actually in the Olympics. Again, obviously, when it comes to like the men's Olympic team and the women's Olympic team, basketball, I'm talking about, they know those folks. But we really, track and field is huge. Swimming is huge. Those are the two biggest events that from a viewership standpoint. But unless there's folks like Katie Ledecky who've been in previous Olympics, you don't know who these folks are. And so NBC does a great job in giving you some backgrounds into these folks, because invariably they've had to overcome obstacles to get where they are. And so they do a wonderful job of creating then human connection. So when you find out this, who these people are as it relates to the athletes, then you feel like you have a vested rooting interest in them. And they do it a lot for the U.S. athletes, but some of the athletes from other countries too. Like, of course, back, with Usain Bolt, they did a ton of stuff on Usain Bolt. So you really knew who he was. And so NBC's really adept at this. And I think that they're going to continue to do that across the Olympics, trials, which have already been taking place. Swimming is, I think, right now in midst. Track and field's already done. And then the other part of it is the sponsors, D, like you and I were, and P&G and folks like that, because P&G is still one of the main Olympic partners. They invariably will help in the storytelling too. So they look at the Olympics as a story, and us as viewers, and the more we can get behind the scenes of what's truly happening, the more vested interest we have. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that in 2024. One last thing, there's been a lot of criticism for NBC because what they would do is their primetime show would be like, 8 to 11 Eastern time, right?
Mhm.
And they would have it, and that was all taped, no matter where it was. They would do a taped package of a show, a 3-hour, and invariably they would show highlights of different sports, sometimes more than highlights, but portions of different sports. And they took a lot of criticism for that because there was a lot of live events that people couldn't watch. They've now taken that away, D. I don't know if you know this, but you can see anything on Peacock. So if you want to watch crew, four women crew, and you can watch that live on Peacock. So what I think is really interesting, even in 2024, at least for me, I'm really looking forward to that package show that the network is going to have, because they'll be then showing us the best of what happened that day. And so I think that's going to be really interesting to see if I'm the only one who cares about that, but I'm really looking forward to that because there's so much Olympics. Where do you tune in? You only have so much time. And I then appreciate having that chunk of time that I can then check into, because they're going to show you the best stuff of that day. So what do you think of that?
I love it. I've got a question for you, Larry, based on what you were sharing, because I didn't know about this change. What are the implications of real-time viewing of all events going to do, if anything, for the following brands? The Olympics brand,
Right.
the NBC and associated brands, Peacock, etc.,
Right.
and the stories of the athletes as brands. What do you think this is going to do for all three of those entities?
Well, it's going to be really interesting. I think, I mean, I'd be way too arrogant to suggest I know now, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays itself through, right? I think that being able to watch some of these things live, like when you see the 100-meter, I'm thinking the men's 100-meter track and field final, Noah Lyles, like he's primed to win that thing, right? And so to be able to watch that live will be really cool. So at the same time, there's going to be things that we can't even imagine, a great final in wrestling or something, or a boxing match that's really super that you might not normally tune into, but then that they can package for you that you'll then be able to see. So I don't know. That's going to be interesting, D. I will say, you and I coming from a brand standpoint, I might want to clue into the brand nerds what we did for Powerade back in the day, because we came up with something, brand nerds. That's how we really started Powerade. Was we the official sports drink of the Olympics, and that was a big deal. And so we started something called the Powerade Athletic Club, which was a track club mostly, but then we got some boxers and some other folks too that were up and coming athletes. And we did that in conjunction with Nike, and that was a wonderful partnership with Nike. And we ended up signing some folks who did some great things. Maurice Green being one of them, who ended up winning an Olympic gold medal. So it'll be interesting to see the different ways people play it out. P&G over the years has always done a great job of showing the parents, right? Like underneath, and that goes right to their target for most of P&G's customers are the what did we call it? The household managers, D? Was that the
home category managers?
Yeah.
HCMs.
Right, the home category managers. So, and again, there's obviously not even gender associated with that anymore, for their target audience. And so, showing that, I think that was really cool too, is it's the Oren Katz of, showing you more about you're learning more about the things that I always get it wrong. Please say it again.
When you were done, I was going to go right to Oren Katz's quote.
Take it away.
And it is, the stuff you don't know about the stuff you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the more the sponsors get involved in that, and the more that is packaged, and I mean packaged not in a bad way, but in a good way, it'll be interesting to see how much the country's engaged in this stuff. The other really cool thing is, I don't know if you know this, but Paris is doing something that the Olympics have never done before. The opening ceremonies are not coming into a stadium. That's been the way they've done it all the time. They're actually putting all of the teams in boats on the Seine River, and they're coming down the Seine River. That's going to be the opening ceremonies. So they're starting these games off in a really cool sort of Parisian-centric, great way. And I have a feeling that's going to kick in gear a lot of attention to the Olympics.
Hearing that about the way the athletes are going to be coming in reminds me of what the Super Bowl did with their halftime shows when Rock Nation took over, Hova. Is for every city that the Super Bowl has been in since he and Rock Nation have been involved, they take the talent from that city,
brilliant,
or has some connection to that city and showcase them. So it sounds like the opening ceremony is taking a page out of the Rock Nation book. So I just want to shout out Rock Nation. But back to Orrin Katzif's quote, the stuff you don't know about the stuff you know. That is your point about the stories of these athletes.
Right.
It's all about the human interest. And it's interesting when the story helps us understand stuff we don't know about the stuff we know. And then as it relates to these personalities, what just came to my mind was an interesting connection, Larry. Often these stories of these athletes, or in Barkley parlance, athletes, is about their trials and their tribulations on the road to glory. We see finals in all of the categories, but the real stories happen during the trials.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing a duality opportunity from a branding and marketing and storytelling standpoint. And that is, cover the trials of the stories of the athletes as you cover the trials, performance and athletic trials leading up to the finals. In other words, this is truly an opportunity to help the viewer and audience get into the journey, which are the trials, both athletic and in life, and not the destination, which is the final. And the medal. That just came to my mind.
No, I think you're right. I think, and that's where it's a lot harder today because of the fragmentation of media that we all have, from social media that we're all on, whether it be IG and I'm still going to call it Twitter, and all the different social media out there that people spend a lot of time on. So it used to be easier for NBC to tell those stories. So now they have a lot of different places that they should embrace and being able to tell those stories. But the track and field trials just ended. And again, Brand Nerds, I'm going to do what DC usually does. We're actually recording this right before 4th of July, July 2nd. And so the track and field trials ended. The swimming is now upcoming. Look, NBC smart. They did this all on purpose. They had track and field and then trials and then going right into swimming, which are the two biggest, most watched sports in the Olympics are swimming and track and field. So they're doing this all orchestrated on purpose to then lead you up into the games. So that's really smart. And in many ways, to your point, D, it starts now because a lot of there's a lot of the U.S. swimmers and track and field athletes, there's more pressure on them in the trials than there are on the Olympic Games. Because in like the sprints, both in track and field and swimming, if you just make the team, you're probably going to medal in the Olympics. So there's a lot more pressure in these trials, and that's clearly evident. So that full storytelling really starts now.
Great point, Larry. I think the Jamaicans might have a little something to say about that in the track and field category, but I want to do a pivot, Larry. The Olympics is indeed a sporting event, but mostly it's an entertainment show.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is. It's an entertainment show. which leads me to the women's Olympics basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing about Caitlin Clark
Yep.
not being on the team.
Yep.
I'd like to hear your thoughts, Larry.
As we all know, I'm a marketer. I look at things very much from a marketing lens. So now I'm going to surprise you. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine. She deserves to make the team as the coaches see it or not. And I don't think she should be put on the team, as so many people say, because it's a TV show and because it's a marketing event. Because let's face it, she's brought a lot more eyeballs. I get it.
Yep.
But at the same time, there's already more interest. It's not 100% because of Caitlin, right? She's the number one reason, but there's a lot of other reasons.
Absolutely.
And I think that I just feel like the unintended consequences of that are just not smart. I think there's still going to be a lot of interest in this team, and she's got to earn it. I feel that's the way sports work. And when you shortcut that, it's somehow, some way, it sounds like a good idea, but for me, it's not authentic, it's not genuine, and I don't think that's what they should be doing. What say you?
I completely disagree with you, brother.
Great. This is awesome.
I completely disagree with you.
Good.
And I want to go to the NBA, and then I'll come back to basketball, Olympics basketball. When Magic Johnson and Larry Bird entered the NBA, they were not necessarily the best players in all of NBA basketball. They hadn't earned shit. They played in college. They were incredibly well known. They played in the finals. Magic Johnson's Michigan State Spartans beat Larry Bird's Indiana State. I don't know their mascot. Do you know, Larry?
Sycamores.
Sycamores. All right.
Yeah.
But they hadn't done anything in the NBA. David Stern, rest in power.
He wasn't the commissioner then, though. Let's be.
Yeah. Okay. All right. David Stern. Oh, wait, that's right. Who was the commissioner then?
Larry O'Brien.
Larry O'Brien. That's right. Larry O'Brien Trophy. So
who wasn't very good, by the way, but go ahead.
Larry O'Brien, David Stern, et al. At the NBA determined, and I think this was more Stern, this league is going to make it because it's going to be a great entertainment show, and a great entertainment show needs its stars.
Mm-hmm.
And bet the farm on Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
That is what happened. And I believe the rest is history. Let's go to the Olympics. Dream Team. We decided there's going to be a rules change here in the U.S. Our professional athletes are going to play in the Dream Team. Before that, all amateurs.
Right.
It was a rules change. And on that Dream Team was one amateur, Christian Leitner. We decided that we were going to change the rules because we thought we'd be more competitive as a country. America and the world said, yes, we got that. We understand that. You can let your NBA players come on. We changed it for the Dream Team.
Mm-hmm.
That changed Olympics basketball forever. It did. It was a better show. So that's my second example. In both cases, someone recognized we need to have the best possible people to make the best possible show, and they're pretty effing good. Now let me go to Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
She would have made the women's Olympic teams a better show. She would have. And I think there's no question she's one of the best 15 women basketball players in the world today. I believe she is that today. Can't leave her off the team. Cannot leave her off the team. You can change the rules. Now, if you say to me, nope, there were no Dream Team folks, we stayed amateur the entire time in men's basketball, I got it. We don't change the rules. If you say, yep, Magic and Larry came on, not Olympics, but hey, they hadn't earned it yet. They're not authentic. the stars yet. We should. Then I got it. And if this ain't a TV show, I got it. It's a show. Got to have Caitlyn. My view.
Well, you make a compelling point of view. And at the same time, I just looked up. So Caitlin Clark right now is the 16th leading scorer in the WNBA right now, right? So, and scoring is, obviously she's a great scorer and passer. And I know she's doing better than she was. But man, I just feel like when you skip steps, she's going to get her play. She's going to get her play. And I feel like there's a lot of other, the Diana Taurasi's of the world and Sabrina Ionescu's. There's a lot of really good stars already.
Yes.
And so you got to earn your way. And she's almost there, but she's not quite there. But I get your point.
Okay. So I'm going to do this last thing. And I'm going to use a different category, but it's similar. It's similar. Larry, you know I'm from Detroit. Brand Nerds, I think many of you know I'm from Detroit. What up, though? Okay, for my Detroit people, we know that. Detroit is known as Motown, and in addition to cars, that's why it's called Motown, Motor Town. So Motown is short for Motor Town.
I bet you just clued in somebody's. Oh, I never thought of that.
Oh yeah, Motor Town. That's right. Hey, the Brand Nerds, trust me on this.
Yep.
Also, maybe our second largest export coming out of Motown is Motown Records. This is a iconic label, Brand Nerds. Let me give you some of the artists. These are older artists, iconic. The Temptations, the Supremes, Diana Ross, the Commodores, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Four Tops, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Gladys Knight, and the Pips. Okay, those are some of the artists. Just some of them. Rick James. Okay, these are some of the artists that have walked through the doors in the finishing school of Motown Records. There's another group. It's called the Jackson 5. And there's this dude, rest in power, who was leading that group, but he was a kid. His name was Michael Jackson. Berry Gordy did not wait for Michael Jackson to become 18 before he decided he was going to put Michael Jackson up front. Was Michael Jackson better than Stevie Wonder when Berry Gordy decided to put Michael Jackson on the pedestal? Absolutely not. Was he better as an artist than Marvin Gaye? No. Was he more iconic than Diana Ross? No. Better at moving an audience than David Ruffin? No. But Berry Gordy said, this little kid right here, Michael, he's going to skip some steps. Okay. I'm Berry Gordy. I'm making the decision that he can skip some steps because he's going to change the Motown label and possibly all of music. And the time to do it is now. All I'm saying.
You just convinced me, but okay. I don't know if you're convincing USA Basketball.
I'm not convincing them. But hey, what I will say to them is, stay pure to your basketball morals and values. Stay pure to that, and make 50% less money. Reach 50% less people, and good luck. That's what. Good luck. Have it. That's what I say. All right, Larry. That's all I got on that, brother.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end this. Really, I think this has been a great conversation. And Brand Nerds, enjoy the Olympics, man. We both agree that we think this is going to be really fun, and the Olympics at their best truly are something that we all globally can really connect with, maybe through different vehicles and different sports and different athletes. But it's a wonderful event that we can all use, I think, a little diversion from. given everything that's going on throughout the world. So hopefully people will enjoy it, and we shall see. We'll talk about it. I know we'll probably do a wrap up at some point, D, and how this all worked.
We should.
Yeah, we should. All right. This is great. Thanks for listening to Brands, Beats, and Bytes. The executive producers are Jeff Shirley, Daryl D.C. Cobbin, Larry Kamen, Haley Cobbin, JT, and Tom Bureau.
The Pod Fob.
That is he. And if you do like this podcast, please subscribe and share. And for those on Apple Podcasts, if you are so inclined, we love those excellent reviews. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to next time when we will have more enlightening and insightful talk about marketing.